Okay, so this is working 7. The company revalued land and buildings to 950, and this revaluation occurred on the 1st of the 1st. That indicates that the accumulated depreciation has to go to 0 straight away, okay? So that's why we do it that way. You have to make it 0 effective immediately. That's what they want us to do. That's what we're going to do. So this is going to be working 7, and I'm going to, because we revalued the land and buildings, so I'm going to open up land and buildings, if that makes sense. So land and buildings, okay. I'm going to have a trial balance figure, and again I'm going to do this in a T account, all right. So the trial balance figure for land and buildings, it costs 740. So 740000, 740000, and that amount is being revalued to, they're telling us here in the question, 950, okay. So they're telling us the revalued amount there, 950,000. So 950000, and the difference there is going to be 210,000 euros. So that's the reval amount, okay. So plus 210000. That amount means I'm going to have to open a reval reserve. So this is very straightforward to a normal reval, okay. The dates doesn't really matter for this part, okay. It only matters in relation to calculating the depreciation. So your procedure here is going to be the exact same, and that will be my opening amount, 210000. Okay, now the next item is the important factor. Because the revaluation occurred on the 1st of the 1st, straight away, the first thing I do, make accumulated depreciation 0. So go down here, just underneath revalue reserve, accumulated depreciation on L plus B, land and buildings, in a T account. And I would simply bring down my opening. So land and buildings now gone, okay. Accumulated depreciation, 38,000. I'm going to bring that over with me as well. So 38000. TB 38000. Now the first thing I need to do is I need to make it 0. How do I make this account 0? I simply subtract 38,000 euros. That leaves me with 0. Or in this case, on the debit side, 38000, that goes to the reval reserve. 38,000 euros, like so. Job done. Now simply add that on, 38,000 euros, and that gives me 248,000 euros. Okay. Now, that's how you do. If revaluation occurs at the start of the year, it'll be land and buildings, then the reval, then the accumulated depreciation. If it occurred at the end of the year, I know my hands are dirty now, silicone on them, lads, sorry, but silicone won't come off. That means I'm going to have to do depreciation expense last, okay, because there was a full 12 months depreciation on it. If the reval occurred at the start of the year, or the end of the year, sorry, then depreciation will be based off of the 950. Because this figure up here refers to the 1st of the 1st, that figure has to be taken into consideration when we do the reval depreciation, okay. Again, can I advise you that this figure relates to the land and the buildings. Buildings can depreciate, land can't. So before I multiply by the rate of percent, I'm going to take the 950 and I'm going to minus the land value. And the land value, lads, always comes from the question. So you can see here the land element is 130,000. So that 130,000 gets taken away, and that leaves me with 820,000 euros. That's the amount that can depreciate. So I multiply that by the rate of depreciation coming from the question, which is 2%. And if I multiply that by 2%, I should come up with a figure to the value of 16,400 euros. Okay, so that's in a T account, I've got 16,400. That's my depreciation expense, and that needs a double entry. So the good thing is, normally what you see is here, land and buildings reval depreciation expense. This is normally go down to accumulated depreciation, but because it's already opened, it doesn't go down, it goes back up. Okay, so I'd simply add on 16,400, and that would leave me with 16,400. Okay, so that's the difference. There actually is accumulated depreciation at the end of the year, because that's the 31st of the 12th. All right, and it's normally the same as the depreciation expense, but that's basically the fundamentals of how it works. So my new fixed asset is going to be 950,000. My new revaluation reserve is going to go to the finance buy section. All right, and that's for 248,000. My accumulated depreciation goes minus FA, okay, and that's for 16,400. And my depreciation expense is an administration expense that goes to the profit and loss account, 16,400 also. Okay, straightforward, ideal. Okay, again, you just need to make sure that you're familiar with the layout and how we kind of work around it. Suspense is next. Okay, so without even looking, I know exactly the layout of my suspense account. Okay, and this is what I'm going to be working at. My sheet's still left. Okay. Working 8. First thing that I'm going to do, I haven't even looked at the question yet, alright? Genuinely, haven't even looked at it. But I know for a fact it's going to be debenture interest. Okay. Rule out my T account. I'm going to have my trial balance. I know that figure is wrong. So this is just me regurgitating the layout that I've done so far. Okay. This is my actual. Okay, and again, this is just me regurgitating the layout. So the trial balance figure is wrong. The actual figure is is going to be right. So I'm either going to add it or subtract it. The double entries, I've to open up another T account. I'm just going to up a small bit further down. And depending on what it is in the question, haven't even looked at the working now, bear in mind. Okay, and I'm looking for, boom, salaries and general expenses, incorporated expense, 189,600. Okay, so second working salaries and general expenses. Trial balance figure, as I just scribbled out there, 189,600, 189,600. Okay, as we've stated already, what I can actually do now is, while the debenture one is there, go to debenture interest for the first 3 months, 3.6. My magic number is 3, so take note of that up there, and the 3.6 figure, which I know to be, is going to be incorrect. Okay, so this is without even me looking at the working nets. I've literally just taken all the information from the trial balance, and that's literally all I've done so far. Now I'm looking at the working, so I know that fine, and I can go straight to this part here because it says discount allowed entered only in the discount account. So what I've taught you, or what I've preached so far is, who do I allow a discount to? I give a discount to a debtor. So I've got debtors. What am I giving them? A discount. So a discount allowed entered only in the discount account. It was entered in the discount account. It was not entered in the debtor's account. So that's my final working in relation to this. Last working down here is going to be debtors. And as we know already, there's already working on debtors. So it's because, how do I know? Because I've just looked here and I can see that debtors is a line through it already, which means I'm not going to take that figure again. Okay, so I'm going to go back down and look for my debtors. You can see it's coming from working 6 there, 5,7,600. That's the figure I'm going to take. So 5,7,600, 5,7,600, and that's what the figures that I'm using. Okay, so this is my current asset, this is my expense, and that's also my expense. Now, so once I have my accounts open, I go back up here to the debenture interest. So what I'm looking for here is, you can see, not that it's complicated, but that this figure incorporates an increase in debenture. So there was an additional loan purchased on the 1st of 9, 2021. Okay, so this figure for debenture interest for the first 3 months. So that doesn't, this 270 doesn't need to include the 70,000, because that 70,000 wasn't there for the first 3 months. So I don't need to calculate the interest on it. So how would I do it? I would get my 270. I would take away the new loan, which is 70,000, and that would leave me with 200,000. Okay. The rate of percent is coming from the question. You can see it there, 6%. All right. So multiply by 6%, and that gives me a figure to the value of 12,000. Let me just check that in the calculator, please. So 200. That gives me 12,000. I would divide that by 12, and I would multiply it by 3, because again, the magic number, which I've written on already, is 3 months. And that gives me 3,000 euros. Very straightforward, nothing overly difficult in relation to that. So actual 3,000 euros. How do I go up now? So in my T account, I've got 3.6. How do I go from 3.6 to 3,000 euros? I simply minus 600 euros. That has to go on the left, the right hand side, or the credit side of my T account. Double entry, it goes into my salaries and general expenses on the debit side. Okay, 600 euros. Why? Because this account should have been 3,000, which means I take it away. In a T account, it goes on the opposite side, which means the double entry goes on the corresponding debit entry side of the salaries and general expenses. The next item on that list is going to be, and discount allowed entered only in the discount account. So I gave a discount to the debtor. Again, say it out loud, let yourself hear it and say it, okay? I gave a discount to the debtor, which means they no longer owe me the money. So I'm taking it away because they don't owe me the money anymore. So in this case, I'm going to come up with a total value. So it's 1,500, so I'm taking away the 1,500. If I'm reducing an asset, it goes on the debit side and the credit side. So as you can see, I reduce an expense, it goes on the credit side. I reduce an asset, it goes on the credit side. All right, and that means it goes up here on the debit entry for 1,500 euros. So in this case, I am adding, it's just a coincidence that I'm adding both of them, which is fine. I suppose there's nothing overly wrong with that. And that gives me a total of 917. Let me just double check that there now. 189,600 plus 200 equals 191,700. 191,700. Again, I'm going to write up here, do not forget, because that figure does not go into the accounts directly, okay, but it does affect how much I have left to pay for my debenture interest. This figure is going to be an administration expense, okay, 191,700, and this figure is going to be a current asset, 56,100 euros, CA, okay, job done, 56100. And that's my suspense working done. Okay, so we're on to 10 minutes in relation to this video. Put a tick and we go to the next item. So again, what I've taught you so far is as follows. You draw a direct link between that and the figure that has not been presented for payment. A check, and I can look at that straight away and I can see. Part 3, a check issued to director had not been presented for payment. So that's how I'm going to check if my bank figure is correct. That is how I'm going to check it. Everything else here, I can put a line through it, and everything else in part 3, I can put a line through it. That's how I've taught you that, so there's no point in me not doing it. Now, part 1, I guarantee you this will catch a few people because it hasn't come up before. A VAT refund of 4.2 had been paid into the company's bank account. So what you need to look at there is money went into the bank. Money went into the bank, it goes in on the debit side. So that's the first working that I'm going to have here. I'm going to write down working 9, part 1, okay? And I'm going to open up bank first, okay? Just taking note of that. No, there's been no working on bank. How do I know there's been no working on bank? If I go down there, you can see it's 22,400 euros. You can see it's on the credit side. Just keep an eye on that because that means it's an overdraft. 22400, that's why it's in brackets, because it's an overdraft. And I'm going to write down L because it's currently an overdraft, 22400, if that makes sense. And as I stated, I've scribbled it out because there's no more workings in relation to that as well. Okay? And as you can see here, the figures that don't have a line through them, such as VAT, there is going to be working on. So a VAT refund. So of the 12,600 euros that I'm owed for VAT at the minute, I am being given 4,200 euros of it. So 4,200 euros goes into the bank. Remember, bank refers to money in, money out. So 4.2 goes into the bank. That reduces my overdraft. Okay, I hope that makes sense. The other account that gets affected is simply my VAT account, because at the minute I have currently an asset. So I'm currently owed 12,600 from the government. I'm scribbling that out because I'm using the figure. So the government currently owe me 12,600. If you're wondering why they owe me 12,600, lads, it's because I overpaid last year on my VAT, and that's my asset. So they've paid me. I was owed 12,600, but if they've paid me, if they've given me the money back, the refund, well then they no longer owe me the money. So the 4.2 gets taken away from my VAT, and the double entry is it goes into my bank account like so. Okay, and that's the double entry in relation to that. Very, very straightforward. That leaves me with 8,400. My VAT amount is going to be a current asset. Do you want, I'll leave it. I might have another work and I'll come back, because I know the bank one we will have to come back to now. Okay, so that was part 1. So I'll go down here. I can put a tick beside part 1, a VAT refund. Second one, another handy one. Investment income of 450. We have come across this one before, but you do seem to struggle with it. Investment income to the value of 450 euro had been paid into the bank account. So, of the amount of investment income, so if I go back up to working 2, of this asset, the 675, of that 675, 450 had been paid into the bank account, which means I'm no longer owed it, okay? So, of this current asset, I would simply take away 450, just to show you. So that's 675 is what's in there at the minute. I'm taking away 450, and that would leave me with 225 euros. Okay, so my new current asset is going to the same place. So I can still write CA, but the amount is changing because I'm not owed the full amount, full 675. I'm only owed 225 euros. So 225. And again, you can see it reduces my asset and it's money going into my bank account. So over here in my bank account, 450 euro goes in. So 450 has gone in there like so, and that would, again, that would also reduce my overdraft. And that's that work and done. It's literally the same as the VAT one. So I'm reducing my asset because I've actually received the money. Okay, so I'm no longer owed the money because I've received both that money in both circumstances. Fourth one, I know you all struggle with this one. A cheque for 1,200 had been launched directly into the firm's bank account on behalf of a debtor in respect of a debt previously written off. Right, indicator there. That means we've got a bad debt recovered. Bad debt recovered. Okay, so if it was previously written off, it means it is now recovered because he's paying me. So the accounts are bad debt recovered, okay? The money, he's paid me 1,200 by cheque. That money goes into my bank account, all right? The last one is he has agreed to undertake and to repay the remainder of the debt. So it's getting added back to debtors. And they are my three accounts, okay? Bank, bad debt recovered, and debtors. As you know, debtors already has working. I'm going to have bank is already opened, which is a good thing about it. And that's fine. So this is going to be working 8, part 4, because part 3, as you know already, was irrelevant. So that's why we've aligned through, because it's not relevant. Working 4. So as you can tell here, the accounts that I have to open, I'll do, bank is already open. So I'm just going to open debtors. And again, to take account, and bad debt recovered. Bad debt recovered. Very straightforward. Oh, nothing overly difficult in relation to that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down the full debt, and I'm going to do it like I would have normally done. What I mean by that is I'm going to show you the 2 separate entries. So the bad debt recovered is he's received 1,200, and this represents 60% of the original debt. So 1,200 is equal to 60%. Okay, so the first item of the bad debt is 1,200 euros, right? That's my gain. So the first item is 1,200. Now he's paid me that amount, so that amount goes into the bank account. All right, so plus 1,200. Job done. That's my bank. That's my double entry done. He's paid me 1,200, and that represents 60%. So that's the first part of the bad debt. That's your 2 entries for your 1,200. Now I'm looking for the remaining 40%. Okay, so the first item is 1,200, and I'm going to add on the 40%. So 1,200 divided by 60 multiplied by 40, and that will give me a total to the value of 800 euros. I'll just double check that now, so I'm not talking about. So 1,200 divided by 60 multiplied by 40, and that gives me 800, correct? So that 800 euros, lads, is money that he's agreed to repay me. So 800 euros again is my bad debt recovered, because he's paying me that amount. The difference is he hasn't paid it yet, and he's agreed to pay it, so it goes into my debtors account, which is my asset. Now the only difference is debtors is a working here, so go back up to working 8, 56,100. That should be working 9. 56,100, and I'm just adding on 800 euros, and that gives me 56,900. Okay, so current asset 56,900. Now just to show you once more, so it's 56,100. Show you once more. The first part of the debt was 1,200. That's my bad debt recovered. It represents 60%, and he's paid it to me, so it goes into the bank. The second part of the debt is the remaining 40%, which is the 800. Again, it's a bad debt recovered, but he hasn't paid it yet, and he's agreed to pay me, so it goes into the debtors. Job done. My gain is going to be for the full amount, which is 2,000 euros, okay, which is a 1,200 plus the 800. You can put them in separately if you want. My total bank figure is going to be to the value of 16,650. 16,650 euros, okay, as an overdraft, and I'm going to check that now straight away just to make sure we're right. 16,650, 12,650 plus 3,900, so 12,650 plus 3,900. That should be 16,550. Sorry, add them together. Let me just check that there now. So 12,650 plus 3,900, and I get 16,550. As you can tell, 16,550, that's going to be an overdraft, so it's a current liability. Okay, 16,550. The VAT amount then is going to be total, which is an asset, so it's a current asset because it's on the debit side, €8,400, like so, job done. And my debtors amount is incorporated already there, all right, so that's fine, and the bad debt recovered. So that was working 9, and we can move on to working 10. All right, so this is a really, really long question, as unfortunately, all right. So working 10 in relation to this, so working 1, 0. The first item there states, office equipment is to be depreciated by 20% of book value. So very straightforward. Office equipment depreciation. All right, so this is the first time it was asked as book value. All right, I've never seen that. Okay, in relation to a company account or sole trader. But this is a very frequent question asked in ordinary level. So book value means whatever the value is in the trial balance. So it's, in this case, it says it's 10%, 20% of book value. So the book value here is, it cost me 55, but it was worth 42. So the book value is 42,000 euros. Okay, and that's coming from the trial balance. Fairly straightforward, nothing overly difficult in relation to that. So that's 42,000, and I'm going to multiply that by 20%, and that gives me 8,400, I think. Okay, 10% of that is 4,200, multiplied by 2 is 84. That's my depreciation expense. Nice little handy number there, goes on the debit side, 8400. Nothing overly difficult in relation to that. And again, where's that going to go? That's going to go as an administration, AE. And the double entry is, it goes to accumulated depreciation. Okay. Again, check the trial balance. All right, have a look at the trial balance. You can see the cost was 55. The net book value was 42. So the difference between this figure and this figure is my opening accumulated depreciation, which is just 13,000 euros. Okay. If you're wondering how I got the 13,000, it was cost minus net book value in BV is equal to the depreciation. All right. So the cost was 55. The net book value in this case was 44. And 42 equals 13. Okay, so that 13,000 was my original opening accumulated depreciation, and that goes on the credit side of my T account, 13,000, and I simply add on the 84. Okay, 8400, 8400. Okay, so my 8400, add both those together, and I come up with a figure to the value of 21,400 euros. 21,400. That's my minus fixed asset, 21,400, and that's my administration expense. Okay, so that was working 10, and that was part 1. All right, because as you can see here, there's a couple of items. So that's part 1 done. Provisions to be made for investment income due and debenture interest. So we have the investment income working done because I've trained you to do it that way. So the next one, which is part 2, is going to be debenture interest. So part 2, debenture interest. Very straightforward. We've done this loads of times. Okay, so remember that there's 2 loans. We've got the one, we've got the original loan, and then we've got the new loan. So the trial balance figure was 270. So the new loan was 70. So the original loan was 200. Okay, so the original was 200,000. The new loan was 70,000 euros. Okay, the rate of depreciation was, sorry, not the rate of percentage on that debenture was 6%. Okay, and that's for the full year, so 12,000 euros. And then this 70,000 multiplied by 6%, because the date here, lads, okay, the date is the 1st of this 9th 2021, which means I had it for the 9th, the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, 4 months. So divided by 12, multiplied by 4, and that gives me a figure to the value of 1,400. Add them together and I get 13,400 euros. That's the figure, lads, that needs to go to both places. So it's going to be an expense and it's going to be a liability. You would see me calling them payable and due. So that's what you're normally used to seeing. Okay, either way, 13,400 is my expense, 13,400 is my liability. In a T account, how it would look would be like so. So I'd have 13,400 as my expense, 13,400 as my liability. And again, what we're looking for is, you can see here, debenture interest paid for the first 3 months, 3,600. I've got a line through it because I've specifically wrote down here, do not forget. And I can put a tick beside that because I didn't forget it. And how much I've actually paid so far is 3,000. So of the amount that I owe, I've paid 3,000 euros, which means technically I only owe 10,400. Okay. So that amount is my payable expense. That's going to go minus end of the profit and loss for the full amount. 13,400, because that's the total debenture interest I have to pay this year. But my liability, or how much I've left to pay, is based off of my total figure minus how much I've already paid, okay? And that's coming from my suspense working, which is working 5 or 6, I can't remember which one. And that's 10,400. If that kind of makes sense. Okay, part 1, part 2, and now we can move on to part 3. We're nearly there now. I know this is coming up on quite a 50-minute video. Alright, I apologise about this. But anyway, right, a transfer to 12,000 should be made from the capital reserve. Fairly straightforward. Part 3, okay. All I'm going to do is I'm just going to go straight over here to my accounts. I'm going to write down minus end, okay. And I'm going to write down 12,000 is getting taken away, and I'm going to write down FBY, okay, and 12,000 is going to go in there like so. That's literally, it's straight done, as you can see it, okay. No, the other way you could do that was, because there's probably a capital reserve here, 25,000, you could probably add that 12,000 to that original 25, okay, just as a subtotal, just so you're not losing marks in the question. So that would give me 37,000. So my new finance bisect should be 37,000, and that's my trial balance figure, and that's my figure that needed a double entry. All right, so that 25,000, as you can see here, I've actually used that now, so I can put a line through it. And the last one then is going to be provision for bad debts, is to be just to the 4% of debtors. Okay, so part 4, provision for bad debts. Okay, provision for bad debts. Very, very straightforward in relation to that. Okay, my debtors figure, again, is a working. How do I know there's a working? Because I have it scribbled out here, okay? So debtors, let's go down here. I'm looking for current asset. You can see here, part 4, debtors 56,900. I can leave it there because the debtors amount isn't changing, okay? It's just a provision figure. So 56,900 is I'm bringing down. And I'm going to multiply that by the rate of percent. In the question, part 4, it says 4%. Okay, so multiply that by 4%, and I come out with a figure to the value of 2244. Very strange figure. Okay, nothing wrong with it though. So that's this year. That's the provision for bad debts figure. Again, you'll see me do it: old, new, and if it's an increase or a decrease. Okay, my old figure coming from the trial balance is as follows: provision for bad debts, star beside it, 3,000. Put a line through it because it's now used. Okay, so 3,000. My new figure is 2244, which means there has to be a reduction. Okay, so I'm taking money out because that's what it was, that's what it is now, and it's going to be for 756 euros, 756 euros. Sorry, 756 in a T account. Okay, no, before I do it in a T account, I'm going to put it into the accounts. That's a decrease, which means it's a gain. Gains go to the profit and loss. G. Okay, this is my new figure. That's going to be my minus CA figure. Okay, minus CA. Okay, to show you in a T account, hopefully make better sense of it, I'm going to have provision. My provision in this case was provision is 3,000. So to show you, I'm reducing it by 756. So that reduces my provision, and the double entry is it goes on the credit side because it is a gain. 756, and that literally just mimics that 756 going in here, and that literally just mimics that 2244 going in here, because that's what's in that T account. 2244. Job done, Bob's your uncle, and that's that question completed.